สวัสดีค่ะดิฉันชื่อแสนดีค่ะทำมาจากอเมริกาดิฉันอยู่ประเทศไทยประมาณ9 เดือนแล้วค่ะดิฉันเป็นนักเรียนรักเรียนกับสโมสร Rotary Youth Exchange ค่ะดิฉันเรียนที่จังหวัดพิษณุโลกในทางเหนือไทยเลยนะคะดิฉันอายุ18 ปีค่ะ Okay, welcome to Confusionville. For those of you who can't understand the Thai language, you just got to briefly experience what it's like to enter an unknown world and try to make sense of what's going on around you. So my name is Sadie Rosafgren. I came to Thailand 9 months ago, embarking on an adventure unlike any I had ever experienced at home in the United States of America. When I was 12 years old, a good friend of mine went on her own Rotary Youth Exchange to Germany. She came home talking about the enriching educational year she had just lived. I decided then that one day I too would be an exchange student. I chose Thailand because the country seemed unique, different from the States, and well, who wouldn't want to be in a country known as the land of smiles? So when I arrived in Thailand last August, I knew approximately 5 Thai words. My first encounter with being totally confused was while I was still on the plane that took me from Japan to Bangkok. I remember hearing the stewardess speaking completely in Thai, explaining that we would be landing soon. I turned to my row partner, a girl who would be living in Bangkok for her exchange, and said, yeah, that's what we're supposed to go learn in 1 hour. We laughed, but really we knew that our lives were about to get extremely confusing. When I look back on my first 3 months living in Thailand, I feel like I was underwater, constantly trying to swim to the surface, to get a breath of air, to be able to communicate with the people in my life. Every time I would open my mouth to say something, I felt like I was breathing in water instead of air. During my first 3 months at school, I was in the drowning stage. I couldn't understand much, and when people spoke to me, I would just smile because I didn't understand their words. During my first day at my Thai school, a girl asked me which country I came from. I responded by telling her my age. I had to mentally think like a baby again. I would point at objects and wait for someone to explain it in Thai. I would make a mental note of that object's name by relating it to something that was known to me. For instance, the Thai word for running is wing. I remember this word because the sound wing sounds like the wing of a bird. At the home of my first host family, there was a 2-year-old who lived across the street. Sometimes she would come over and play peekaboo or ride the wooden horse in the living room in my house. She would ask me questions in Thai, and I would just nod and smile and listen to her speak. I will admit, I was slightly jealous that a 2-year-old could speak better Thai than me. The second day I was in Thailand, my host father, Surin, took me across the street to meet a woman who teaches at my school. She met us outside, accompanied by her white dog. She brought us into her living room, which was outfitted with about 6 stand-up fans to attack the brutal Thailand heat. She instantly began speaking rapidly. Her words made no sense to me. Upon entering her home, I saw a sewing machine sitting on the floor next to the front door. I pointed at it and gave her the thumbs up. One thing I learned during the first 3 months of my exchange is miming is like a lifesaver. My new teacher looked at me and her face beamed. We had found something in common already. We both loved to sew. Without saying a word, she began running around her house, fetching items she had sewn, iPad cases, cell phone cases, handbags, sitting mats. Every single project was brought forth and shown to me. She was so proud. After that, every morning I would walk over to her house and she would give me a ride to school. Our morning rides were fairly quiet, with my teacher occasionally pointing at things and saying them in Thai, as teaching was always on her mind. However, on the way home from school, she would talk non-stop, leaving me no time to think. I believe I learned more Thai in those 10-minute car rides than anywhere else. On my first day of school, I rose at 6 a.m., took an ice-cold shower, and proceeded to dress in my school uniform. As I was braiding my hair, I heard a soft chant coming from outside. I pulled back the curtains and saw 2 monks dressed in orange robes accepting food from my host father and offering a chant of luck in return. I was mesmerized by this sight and was happy to learn that this was a daily occurrence. It was a calm and peaceful way to begin my morning. Once at school, I was taken to meet every teacher there. It was a crazy whirlwind of names, faces, hugs, prayers. Everyone was shocked to see a foreigner, or the Thai word farang, in their little school. There was almost nobody at my school who'd speak English. That first morning, I was introduced and interviewed by a teacher in front of over 2,000 students. You can imagine how awkward I felt and how amused the students were. They stared at me as if they had never seen a foreigner before, as if I was this celebrity. The students wanted to know me, but those who weren't ladyboys or teachers kept to themselves, too shy to speak to me. When I would walk from one building to another, every single person would stare at me, observing my every move. People would look down at me from the 4th floor and call out my name, only to run away from the window as soon as I looked up. At times I felt like I was surrounded by a hive of bees, humming my name. I felt like I was in a movie. I was living a whole new life. I had new friends, new parents, a new home, a new lifestyle, a school uniform, a new name. I am called Sandy here instead of Sadie. I had to adjust to this new life and accept that I was no longer the same person I was back home. My teachers were amazingly kind to me. They would give me little Thai treats to try every day. I never went home hungry. For the first 3 or 2 months, I never bought my own lunch, as this teacher or that always bought it for me. Every day, someone would give me a whole bunch of bananas. Literally. Also, they would give me fried bananas, bananas dipped in chocolate, grilled bananas, bananas covered in sugar and flour. Then I would go home and be greeted with a table filled with food and snacks. My first family took me to many markets and introduced me to a wide variety of fruits and foods. One night, my host dad went out and bought every exotic or uncommon fruit and gave them to me at dinner. I was told to try each fruit and then taught the word in Thai. At my second home, I learned independence. My family ran a pet store and worked every day except for Sundays. They were always busy and had very little free time. This forced me to talk to people, to make arrangements, to find events to attend. I would ride my red bike to school every day and then meet an exchange student friend at the local gym after school. Some days he would forget his bike at home, and I would bike to his school and pick him up. He would ride my bike, and I would sit on the little seat behind him. You can only imagine what a scene we caused. 2 foreigners dressed in school uniforms riding around town on a little bike. Our town is in northern Thailand, about 4 hours south of Chiang Mai. The town has a stunning temple that is a tourist attraction, but other than that, there are maybe only a handful of foreigners in our town. We stick out for sure. One day, we were at the gym. I was lifting weights and decided to adjust the amount of weight I was lifting. When I pulled out the screw that kept the weights held together, they came falling down and smashed my pinky finger. I was so shocked that I didn't even realize what had just happened. When I looked down at my finger, it was already a plum purple color and twice its normal size. I ran over to the front desk, and without asking any questions or showing hesitation, the people who work at the gym began taking care of my sore finger. I had been going to the gym for 2 months and had never spoke to the people there. But that didn't matter now. They sat me down, gave me ice to soothe my finger, and opened a cold bottle of water. Then the manager sat down and talked to me for an hour straight in Thai. I will never forget the tender love those strangers showed for me that day. How caring and happy they were to make sure I was okay. This is the way of Thai people. They are some of the most caring and generous people I have ever met. I'm currently at my 3rd and last family. I'm truly happy here and love this family very much. My parents own a very popular restaurant that sells khanom jeen, white rice noodles that are covered in various spicy curries. My grandmother is a firecracker and is the one to blame for teaching me Thai curse words. I now have 2 months left of my exchange year, and I found myself traveling all over the country, from snorkeling in the south to riding elephants in the north. My counselor in America said once that if every person went on a youth exchange, there would be world peace. And after this year, I couldn't agree more with these wise words. I met some of my best friends this year. I got to meet exchange students from France, Brazil, Germany, Taiwan, Italy, Mexico, Canada, the States, Russia, Belgium, Bermuda, and Australia. Meeting these people from all over the world has been eye-opening and fascinating. My world feels much smaller and friendlier now. I feel like I can travel anywhere in the world and I will have someone to visit. I can't thank Rotary, my host families, my family in America, all of my exchange and Thai friends that have made my year truly special and one that I will never, ever forget. Thank you. ขอบคุณค่ะ